It's real, the mic stays warm. Hosted by the dad with lots of charm. Insights are sharp and data's tight. The lens already and the jokes online. Hot takes, real talk, keeping it true. From high school halls to podcast cues, live a little, learn a lot. Turn it up, this show is hot. Grab your coffee and let's get into it. No filter, no fluff, just real talk. Let's do it. Ready or not, here we go. It's time for Murphman to start the
All right. Welcome back to Hot Takes with the Murphman. I am the Murphman here with my co-host, Connor. How you doing today, Connor?
Good. How you doing today, Murphman?
I'm doing really good. I got to tell you, let me turn on my headphones a little bit. It's been a really good week. We've been able to watch some soccer, right?
Yeah, a little bit of soccer.
A little bit of soccer. A little. Well, I've
really
okay.
Soccer
I've been watching more soccer than you.
I saw like 2 matches.
Well, but we saw USA play Australia yesterday, and we won
2-0.
That's right. So, what do you think of that game? Was it a pretty good game?
Yeah, for soccer, I would say it's good.
For soccer? You just don't like soccer, yeah. You're like, it's something to watch, right?
It's not really my type of sport to watch, since it's all back and forth.
You know, I was in high school and I got asked to join the soccer team, and I never took that up, and I regret that to this day. I was a pretty good soccer player.
I'm good.
Well, you know how the goalie kicks the ball from midfield? I mean, from his goal, then kicks it like past midfield.
Yeah.
I would be able to go almost 3/4 of the field. Yeah. If you think about Burgess High School, from the last end zone to the fence line, how far do you think that is? More than a football field?
I want to say no, half, probably.
A little more than half, right? Because I would kick it from, well, I didn't kick it. One time, I kicked it from that end zone, and I hit the fence. So that means it was still going further. Yeah, I had a really good foot on me. And then I could kick the curve from the corner kick. So I made a couple goals that way when I would play with my friends. Yeah. So soccer's here, World Cup's here. USA. Yeah. And then Viva Mexico. They beat Korea, and they are the first team in of the 32. How cool is that? You're like,
Yeah, Mexico's not my team.
You know,
I don't really got one, so I don't know who to root for.
Maybe one thing you can look up on the break: Paraguay and who's the other team in our group? Turkey. Yeah, Turkey. Turkey is because Mexican, right? Yeah. They played last night, and I don't know who won, so I'm curious what their points are. You know,
I'll look it up after this slide.
Okay. All right. I'll tell you what, you ready to get the show started?
Yes, sir.
Let's ignite the fuse.
It is always about knowing your value, okay? I am willing to look dumb to show you why your first offer is a test. Welcome to Hot Takes with the Murphman. Today, we are talking about Don't Take the First Offer, a guide to negotiating your first salary. Your first salary sets the tone for your financial future. This episode empowers students to negotiate with confidence, advocate for their worth, and understand the full value of a job offer. The fuse is lit. Murphman, take the mic.
That's one of those things that, you know, you're just starting off. You don't really have the chance to negotiate too much. but you still can negotiate. People don't realize that you can still negotiate. So as we're doing this today, I want you to think about the fact that you don't have to accept anything. I'll give you an example. My friend, I talk about it all the time. She got a new job and she went to orientation, and they said, well, you need to bring your own computer, your own desk, and your own chair. And because she knows her worth, she says, no, you will provide that for me because I am working for you. Unless you want me to work from home, then I can do that. And so she negotiated that, and she's waiting to hear a response. But everything is negotiable. Now, some jobs like grants, programs, right? They only have so much money they can give. So I understand that. Okay. And if you're going for a company that actually has a whole workforce and everything, everything's negotiable. So we'll talk about all this later, as we go on. But I'll tell you what, let's get to the question and let's talk about the burning fuse.
Only a small percentage of grads know how to handle a first offer, and I almost didn't show you this. When an employer hands you an initial entry-level contract, what should your immediate next move be? Here it is. What is the single most effective action to take when you receive your first job offer? A. Accept it immediately on the phone to show enthusiasm. B. Demand a 20% raise on the spot without checking data. C. Ask for the offer in writing and request 48 hours to review it. D. Reject it outright to prove you are a tough negotiator.
Contract. Very good.
I told you, yeah, there you go.
All right. Sorry about that. Oh, I love technology, I tell you. So, all right. Sorry, my tablet glitched on me. All right. So the best way to ask is, what's the biggest mistake people make when they receive a job offer? Accepting on the spot without negotiating, not asking about the benefits package, asking for too much money, or not expressing the gratitude for the offer. It's the first one. You accept it without any negotiation.
Oh, that was not the question at all.
What do you mean wasn't the question?
What should you do with your first contract? It should have been C, accept the offer in writing and have 48 hours to review it.
Oh, crap. Hold on.
I was like, what?
Hold on.
Let me switch it.
All right, let me see here. Oh, give me a sec. The burning question.
Only a small percentage of grads know how to handle a first offer, and I almost didn't show you this. When an employer hands you an initial entry-level...
Yeah. What should you
Yeah, get it in writing. Okay.
have 48 hours to review it?
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know what question you were on. I don't think I saw that question at all.
You probably didn't. I apologize, you guys. I really do. I'm looking here and I'm like, okay, why is this wrong? And I realized what the problem was. Let me see here. Yeah,
What happened?
I was on the wrong number.
Oh, what number were you on?
Well, doesn't matter.
Hmm.
All right. So we're resetting. I'm so sorry, you guys. All right. So, what is the single most effective action to take when you receive your first job offer? Accept it immediately on the phone and show enthusiasm. Demand a 20% raise on the spot without checking the data. Asking for the offer in writing and request a 48 hours to review it, or reject it outright to prove you're a tough negotiator. And you said the answer is C, like you were right. Okay. Now, let me say something about that. When you're trying to negotiate a first salary, you can't just accept it on the spot. You can't, because even if it's your very first job, if I tell you this job is a minimum wage job, pays minimum wage. Okay. So what's the benefits that come with it? There's some things that are negotiable. Certain jobs, like working at the mall, there's not negotiable. That's what they pay their workers, But when you go to your real first career job, that's where this comes into play, because they're interviewing you for a reason. Okay. As you're thinking about negotiating your salary, you have to be aware of what your value is. Okay. And I will tell you this, the first one to come up with a number loses. And I'll give you an example of this. I was watching a TikTok, and this guy's doing an interview, and he says, I will take nothing less than 45. And he's like, all right, you're a hard negotiator. Then during the interview, he gets a phone call. He's like, hold on, let me take this call. Yeah, I got him to take 45. I didn't have to bother. It's like, ooh.
Yeah, harsh.
And sometimes jobs will ask you, like, what are you making right now? Well, I'm working at Taco Bell making $8 an hour. And you want $70,000 to start? So it's a very nuanced way of asking questions like that we have to be aware of as we're discussing the process of being hired. You have to ask for more money. You have to. Now, what really is sad is entry-level people tend to make more money than people that have been there forever.
Really?
Yeah, because you don't realize that your what's it called? That your salary starts off, and then because of inflation and everything, people get paid more. And if your salary raises have not kept up with that inflation, then you're not going to be at the same level. So that's why bosses hate you talking about your salary, because it causes problems in the workplace. But I say, and it's actually legal to do so, I say talk to your employees about what you're getting paid, because sometimes you're more valuable than others. You're better at what you do. They have different things, so keep that in mind as we go on for today. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at today's hot take.
The line is live and the fuse is burning. Murphman, get us started.
Succeeding is one single conversation that takes less than 5 minutes. Your initial starting salary is not a final decrease. It is merely the opening bid in a standard business transaction. And failing to counter can cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. You think about that. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. One of the things that I've had to do, I had a job I was working at, and I was doing a lot of the boss's stuff. And I was working on my master's degree, and I had my master's degree, and I went to him. I said, hey, I got my master's degree now. I can take over the program officially, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, if I didn't think you were a manager yesterday, what makes you think I'm going to think you're a manager today? I was like, wow, okay. So I started looking for a job and I got one. And the person who took over for me, he made him program manager. Okay.
After how long?
No. Like after I left, the guy who took over for me became the program manager. The guy I trained.
Wow.
Right? Because I was hoping that I would get promoted. He would take my job and so on and so forth. 2 months later, he calls me back, the boss. He's like, hey, Sean, what would it take for you to come back and work here? Yeah. The guy was screwing everything up. All right. And I said, well, if you didn't think I was a manager 2 months ago, what makes you think I'm a manager today? Right?
Yeah.
What changed the situation? So sometimes it's not even you that needs to be aware of this stuff, right? It's the situation that they're in. And, you know, I could have asked for probably about 8 or 10,000 more than what I was making before, easily. But I would have asked for 20,000 more. Almost 50% salary raise for the trouble you'd be putting me through. So I said, I will take X amount of dollars. And he goes, that's too high. I said, well, how bad do you want me? And he's like, we can't afford it. That's tough. I like where I'm at. You know, it's one of those things that you sometimes you have the power to negotiate. Sometimes you don't. And do you know what at-will employment is? A lot of states have at-will employment where you're hired and they don't have to give you a reason to fire you. Okay, they can fire you. They can walk up to you right now and go, you're fired. And that's legal because it's an at-will employment. What's the problem with that? Well, if I'm a good worker and you fire me, I go to unemployment and unemployment says, how come he got fired? Oh, we just didn't like him. You know, well, now you have a lawsuit on your hands because a potential lawsuit, let me say potential. It doesn't mean you can sue anybody you want, but you can have a potential lawsuit in your hands. Okay. Because it's at will. They really can fire you for any reason, but you know, you can fight it sometimes. But what's even more funny is if they say we're firing you because you're not doing your job, but you've never been written up, right? They can't do that because they're lying about the reason they're firing you. They can say we don't like you, you're not fitting in, bye. But they can't say, you know what, you're not doing your job right. When you had no write-ups or nothing. So everything's negotiable. And when you get into bigger jobs, you get contracts that you have to sign. Okay. And all those contracts are negotiable. So we'll talk about that when we come back from break. Excuse me. We'll talk about all those things when we come back from break. And so stay tuned.
It's time for a break. Hot Takes with the Murphman will return after these messages.
According to the VA's suicide data report, an average of 22 veterans die by suicide every single day. This figure is a sobering reality and a crisis that demands our immediate attention and compassion. We must recognize and address the fact that every 24 hours, 22 veterans are losing their lives to suicide. The war doesn't always end when our veterans come home. The invisible wounds they carry, wounds that are real and heavy, require continuous support. No veteran should have to carry this burden alone. Many veterans experience stress and disconnection as they navigate life after service. But there is hope, there is help, and you are not alone in this fight. There's a vibrant community ready to support you, offering friendship, understanding, and shared experiences. You served your country, now let us serve you. Don't fight the toughest battle in silence. Your mission now is to reach out. Dial 988, then press 1. Text them at 838255. The Veterans Crisis Line is available 24/7. Every day, we save lives. Your life is invaluable, and your service is honored. Let's work together to make 22-0 again. No veteran should face their struggles alone. Together, we can ensure every veteran finds the support and hope they deserve.
He gets help, but he still feels off season out on the TV about a dog batting said, this is a man's best friend. Whoa, so he goes one day and he picks it up. Never thought a dog could bring so much love and put a smile on his face. But he's finally found a saving grace. He needs help, but he don't know the path to take or the way to go to be free. Put his mind at ease. We will help, 'cause we can't stand to see a soldier go to God by their own hands. We will do everything we can to make 22-0 again.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard, MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
The web at mbradio.u.
Right. All right. How's everybody doing? Welcome back. Now, I got to say, am I still muted? Yeah, no, I'm not. Okay. That video was Ryan Spencer's song, Make 22-0 Again, talking about veterans who need help and are taking their lives. That's what 22 lives a day mean. Make 22-0 again. And if you are in that crisis, make sure you dial 988 and press 1. It doesn't matter if you're a veteran or not. That's a crisis hotline. And you can definitely get that help 24/7, 365, you guys. Or 66 if it's a leap year. But I say we get back into the show and let's do laying down the coals.
My professional life before this negotiation strategy versus my life after I stopped flinching at low numbers. To dominate this professional sandbox, you must master the core baseline terminology of employment metrics. Market rate is the median geographic and industry standard compensation package for a specific job title based on live economic data. Total compensation is the complete financial value of an employment package, including base salary, health benefits, retirement matching, bonuses, and remote work stipends. Value statement is a concise, data-driven pitch that quantifies your skills, past achievements, and specific metrics to demonstrate what you will deliver to an employer. Counteroffer is a formal, strategic proposal submitted by an applicant requesting adjustments to the base salary or secondary benefits of an initial job offer.
All right, so market rate, the median geographic and industry standard compensation package for a specific job title based on live economic data. Well, how do you find out what people are getting paid?
You go to a job site and look at the job. That's what I would do.
ONET, the Occupational Network. You can go in there and say, what are people with my degree getting paid to do right now, starting salary? Teaching salaries. If you're a teacher, you go and you find out what the district's starting salary is, and then you're able to see what you'll get paid. So that's not negotiable. That's what the market is paying. That's what they pay. Will they pay more for certain certifications or if you have a degree or something like that? Yes. Okay. But if you think about that, you don't realize that there's no negotiating when you're a teacher. There's no negotiating in that first job a lot of times. But in some jobs, there is, because jobs have benefits. And that's what you got to find out, what the market rate is. And We also have total compensation is the complete financial value of employment package, including base salary, health benefits, retirement matching, bonuses, and remote work stipends. Where I work, one of the benefits is they provide you health insurance after 3 years. So in January, when it was my 3 years, I called them and say, hey, I want my benefits. And they're like, you have to actually have 3 full years here. So starting in August, you'll have insurance. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. You know, and I'm going to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's no negotiating what salary is really. Okay. Because they have a starting salary and that's what you get. Now, promotions as you go along the way, we have tiers as teachers, and then those are automatic and those are already set in stone. You know, but bonuses are all negotiable. Okay. With other jobs, if a district says, hey, you're only going to get $100 this month as a stipend, that's his going rate. You know, it's a budget. They only have so much. But with bigger companies, more professional jobs, you have the ability to say, well, what benefits do I get here? Well, you get to work from home. Okay, do I get a computer? Yes, we do. They send you a computer and it's not a good computer. Can you negotiate that? No, they provided you with the computer. You know, that's what everyone uses, or they use their own. Right?
Yeah.
All right. Value statement. Total compensation is the complete value statement is a concise, data-driven pitch that quantifies your skills, past achievements, and specific metrics to demonstrate what you will deliver to an employer. Remember those transferable skills we talked about last week? Mm-hmm. We have a certain thing that we can talk about ourselves, that a story, a project, what have you done? You know, one of my students that's in the National Honor Society with me, she accumulated several hundred hours at the hospital volunteering. And there was one meeting she was preparing for, and she goes, I have to brief the hospital administration. I'm like, what do you mean you're a volunteer? Well, they want to know what I'm doing. Well, once she graduates high school, do you think she's going to get a job at that hospital?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say so.
If she's presenting to the CEO of the hospital, right? Yeah. So she has a really good chance of doing that. But that's her project. And she works in the same field, different tasks in the field, but she's been working in the same field. And that's what you got to do. And also, you have to counteroffer. A formal strategic proposal submitted by an applicant requesting adjustments to the base salary or secondary benefits. What would you say are secondary benefits, Connor?
I don't know what a secondary benefit would be.
Like insurance.
Wouldn't that be primary?
No, salary is primary, and then everything else that comes with it. You know, travel. When we travel, do you pay my mileage for the car? Yes, we do. Now, where I used to work, they took away our mileage.
Why?
Well, because they said, I'm working in another city and we're not going to pay you to drive back and forth because that's your office. And I'm like, no, my office is here. You know, you send me 45 minutes away and you're not going to pay my mileage. That's one of the reasons I decided to get out of there. You know, I was happy to, because that was about $300 in gas money I was missing. Yeah. You know, and once you're hired, there's no negotiating, you know, so you have a contract.
You could try to negotiate it.
Yeah. But once they give you your starting salary, you're stuck there. When you get promoted or they give you a raise, they just say, you've earned a 10-cent raise or whatever. And you're like, okay, thank you. You know, what else can you say? You know,
I think
is it negotiable?
A little bit more than 10 cents.
That's exactly what you have to say.
Yeah.
I think I'm better than a 10-cent raise. Now, I can compare myself to all my other coworkers, right? But I can say, you know what I've done for you, and you know what I'm capable of. I want you to reconsider those 10-cent raises. Well, if they come back and say that's all we're going to offer, then you can say, okay, well, then maybe I'm going to have to look for another job, because I've been looking at the market, and the salary for what I'm doing right now is this, and I'm not getting paid that. I was hoping for a better raise. So if you're not going to do that, maybe I need to look for another position. And so, sometimes I'll say, okay, then yeah, you do, get out. So don't.
I guess so.
Don't threaten if you're not saying the truth. But if you know an evaluation's coming up, be prepared with your list of things that you want to say. Okay. With my job, I'm a substitute. I cover classes, and I've been covering several classes this year. When I talk to the boss, she's just like, I can give you a task and I know it will get done. That's all that matters, right? I know last minute, whatever's coming up, I tell you to do something, you do it, you're great. And that's a nice thing to have, she says, to know that I can trust you. Well, I can't say, can you give me more money? Because that's my job. You know what I mean? Yeah. I haven't done anything gone above and beyond my job. You know, I'm doing the National Honor Society, I get a stipend for that. I'm doing the Broadcast Club, I get a stipend for that. Okay, you know, bonuses come around. I got some of that. So it's one of those things where you can always try to renegotiate your contract. In my day, loyalty was very important. You sat there in the same job forever. That's the whole point. You go up the ranks in the job. Nowadays, it's about me. It's not about the company anymore. It's like, can I get a better job here? Can I jump ship here? Can I do this here? Whatever the case may be. And that is where you start getting better benefits and raises, because you're jumping ship. And remember, new salaries make more money. So when you jump ship, you actually can make that better money. Okay. And it's not just always about the money, because you have the benefits too. Like I told you, that friend of mine who was living here, right, in Las Cruces, he was here for 3.5 years for an engineering program. And he built a project, and once he was done, he was out. But he made enough money to actually buy a house. And that was less than the money they were giving him for rent every month. So he was actually making a profit, you know. And then he had his money per diem per day. They give you money for food and mileage. They give him a vehicle to drive. So, I mean, you know, it's like everything is included, right? And he can still negotiate whatever he wants because he has that power. So don't ever think that just because you're stuck there, you don't have power. You can always try. All right. That's very important. So I want you to think about that. And as we hear the story from the fire today, we're going to hear a story that applies here.
I finally stopped accepting the initial number on the spot, and this exact shift changed everything. Consider the case of Sarah, a recent college graduate who received an entry-level marketing manager offer of $45,000. Instead of panicking or signing immediately out of pure excitement, she politely asked for 48 hours to review the total compensation details, researched regional market rates, identified a median benchmark of $52,000, and presented a structured value statement highlighting her specialized technical certifications. The company immediately adjusted her base pay to $50,000 and added an extra week of remote flexibility. The stage is set and the fire is bright. Murphman, the mic is yours.
All right. So Sarah negotiated that job because she looked at the market. Now, taking those 48 hours is important, right? To give me some time to think about it. Because, you know, you have the right to do that. But you also, I think you want to research that before you get the job offer. Because if you research it and they come back with a number and you can say, Well, I was thinking more along the lines of this, right? Like, for example, if you apply for a job, it says salaries between $48,000 and $72,000 based on experience. Well, you're like, I think I can go as high as 72, right? They say, we think you're at 48. Well, you already know there's that wiggle room there. Go look at the market and see what they're actually paying people. And then you have a better number to come back at. And the 48 hours is to research it just to make sure that you're getting everything you need, right? So you want to make sure you cover all that, because when you do that, you don't realize how much you're missing out on, okay? Because you don't realize it, because you don't ask, okay? I always say ask. Doesn't do any harm to do that. And if you can ask, okay, hold on. Ooh, our camera.
Oh, and it worked. Yeah.
It did?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I should just do that every time now.
Ooh.
Every time I switch. Ooh.
The camera just has to work, you know. It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Start working out the Kingston new studio, you know. But once we get it completely set up, we won't have that issue. You'll see. Anyway, so as you look at all this information, and you think about Sarah, okay, you know, it's your first job. How are you going to negotiate? How is the question? Well, we cover that in our actionable steps called the heat map. So here's the heat map.
This is the exact step-by-step blueprint that every confident graduate uses to boost their starting income. Follow these precise operational steps to maximize your contract leverage. Secure the official initial employment offer and all associated benefit details in writing before initiating any verbal salary discussions. Conduct objective market research using independent geographic salary benchmarks to establish a target baseline range. Construct a structured counterproposal, requesting a specific figure near the upper tier of your researched market range. Present your counterproposal calmly over a scheduled phone call or formal email, while explicitly reaffirming your enthusiasm for the position.
All right, so that's exactly what we've been talking about, right? Secure the official initial employment offer before you start negotiating. Because you're going to say, what is included with this offer? And they'll tell you everything, and you can say, well, I agree here and I don't agree here. But try to get it in writing. That's the best way to do it. And really professional companies do that. You know, if you were to look at my resume or my curriculum vitae, is what it's, you know, more professionals use. With all the things that I've done, especially all the things I'm doing right now, it's too long. I have too many skills that can be used in a lot of different, those transferable skills I always talk about, right? And when you're looking at what you're trying to do, you have to know your worth. You know what I mean? Right now, I'm starting my consulting business. And the business office said, your rates are too high for El Paso. And I said, yes, they are. No. Okay. They are high. The ones who cannot afford it, I have a little income where I can say, if you're below this income, I'll help you out for free. But you're not going to get the higher tiers. You're going to get the basic tier. You know, so I have my quote unquote my free package that doesn't include a lot. That's not part of that official offer. And in TikTok, I've seen a lot of different business gurus talking, and one says if your schedule is full, it's time to raise your prices. Because if you have business all day long, 7 days a week, whatever, that's the That's the only money you're going to be getting for the rest of the time. You're not going to be increasing your money. So when you increase your rates, some people are going to say, oh, I can't afford that, and they're going to drop out. But now you're making the same money with less work. And when you get full again, you raise your prices. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
So,
but that's if people like.
Well, of course. I mean,
yeah, you raise the prices, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, I can't afford it." Everybody drops out.
Well, you're right. That's a risk you take. Yeah. You know, then you come back down and say, "Hey, you know,
this is why I tried something new.
Yeah,
guess it didn't work. Come back, please.
Half price for 2 months, whatever.
10% discount, guys, please."
You know, I know what I'm worth.
Yes.
And if I'm giving you access to me, like for example, as a counselor, I could charge you $150 an hour. Okay. If I wanted to.
I mean, yeah, but
okay. I could charge $400 an hour if I wanted to. Right. But I have to have that clientele.
Yeah.
All right. So when I'm giving you an hour of my time right now, and I say it's going to cost you $60 to $90, I think that's a bargain compared to what you would pay if you went somewhere else. And I know what my pricing tier is and how to challenge it, you know. And another thing I've seen on TikTok, and I love talking about TikTok, is if someone comes back and says, "Can you lower the price?" Well, yeah, we can talk about that. Which one of my services do you want to get rid of? Oh no, I want those services. I just don't want the price. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You have to be.
Everything comes with the price.
Yeah. Okay. So if I have a package deal and you don't want it, I have a la carte stuff, but the a la carte stuff is more expensive, and it behooves you to get the monthly subscription versus, you know, whatever the case may be. And you know, you buy two, like for example, I have 4 classes that I have available for everybody. You come in on tier 1, you get 2 classes. Tier 2, you get 3. Tier 4, you get the 4 classes. Well, if you're on tier 1 the first month and you're like, well, I want to see the other 2 classes, well, you buy another month at that same price, you get the other 2. Okay. If you were to spend $100 more that first month, which is half off, you would not have had to spend it the second month, because it's offered already. So I have this whole pricing tier, and they're like, you know, it's too expensive for El Paso. And I said, I know my worth, and I'm not dependent on it. So if I don't have business, I'm not going to lose anything because I'm not dependent on it.
But you're not going to gain anything from it also if you don't change it.
Well, and that's what you have to see what the market says, right? You know, sometimes if you get one client, then that client can bring in more clients. So getting that first one in the door sometimes is what you need to do. And I have my whole funnel on how I'm going to do all that and everything. But I know what I'm worth. And when someone says you're charging too high, well, that's what I want to charge, because I think I'm worth that because of this. And like, I'm not doing counseling, I'm doing career coaching, adulting 101, right? Now, other things I do, other parts of my business where I host and MC events and everything, I have equipment. And you see my list of equipment. I have a real basic setup, and then I have a fancier setup with lights and everything, right? And like my brother was saying, are you going to be mixing? I'm like, I'm not a DJ like that. But I could learn how to do that, and I could go buy that equipment, and I could try it, right? So as a DJ or host, I would tell you, this is the packages you would have, and you get to pick. So I'm not negotiating a salary, am I? But I'm negotiating a price of what I'm worth, what I'm going to get paid. And that's still part of what we're talking about today. You have to know what you're worth to be able to negotiate all that. And if someone says, what do I get for this? Who are you? well, let me see. I have 40 years of experience. I have 19 years as a parent. I have, oh, well, you're not just someone just starting off, you know what I mean? Yeah, I have experience. So that's one of those things that you have to really know your worth. I keep repeating that, I know, but you have to know your worth. All right. Another thing is construct an objective market research using independent geographic salary benchmarks. How do you do that? Well, you look them up online. Glassdoor has it where it says what was the salary for this job, how much you're getting paid, and they actually talk about employees go on Glassdoor and talk about their jobs. So research the companies like that, right? Or you can ask other people in the field, like other counselors, career coaches, hey, how much are you charging? Oh, I'm charging $250 an hour. Okay. I'm not there yet because I haven't started the business yet, but I will get there, Or you could say, when they call you and they make you an offer, say, I've talked to other people in the field and they have these kind of salaries. I think I deserve more because of X, Y, Z. You also want to construct a counterproposal requesting a specific figure near the upper range or the upper tier of your research. Remember, like I said, 42 to 72 or 48 to 72. You want to get closer to 70. You don't want to say, I wanted 72,000. I want 72,000. I want the max. One job, because I knew the person who was hiring, she calls me and she's like, hey, I see you're looking for a job. I said, yeah. She says, I want to offer you this much money. And I said, that's 10,000 less than what I want. And she says, yeah, we don't have it. She says, I knew you were going to be too expensive based on your resume. I already knew, right? I got a call one day from a recruiter offering me a counseling position, right? Making 20,000 more than what I was making in my current job. And I said, I'm not even in, how'd you get my number? Well, someone referred me to you, and I'm offering you a job. Like, they didn't even interview me. They just literally called me up and said, hey, we'd like to offer you a position of, I'm like, wow. I didn't end up taking it for several reasons, but when they call and they say, this is what we want to offer you, I probably wouldn't say, okay, well, hold on, let's back up. Let's look at what the benefits are, and then that whole process starts, what we've been talking about today. Don't just go in there and say, oh, hell yeah, let's do it. I don't even know where I'm going to be working. I don't know what company you are. I have no idea. Is it in another city? You got to negotiate and you got to ask all that. Being remote, working from home, it's funny because my job pays me based on where I live. Yeah, because if I move to a different district, those teachers make more money. So I have to make more money so I can be competitive. Okay. So I could move to another city just to make more money. But then, of course, I have to pay more in the rent and everything, right? I'm not going to do that, but
unless you find somewhere over there cheaper.
Right. So it's one of those things that when you're looking into it, you really need to know everything that's involved in that position so that you know how it all works. And you got to ask questions. And we're going to be talking about job interviews, and we're going to talk more about the adult stuff here coming up. Not today, but throughout the weeks. And one of them is going to be a job interview. What do you say during the job interview? And I tell people, go to job interviews even if you don't want the job, because the experience of doing a job interview is very important. Okay. You don't realize that. So I'll tell you what, let's go to break and we'll talk about the different places where you'll get burned, pitfalls to avoid, those kinds of things, as we come back and we'll talk about where you're going to get burned. All right, so we'll be back after the break.
It's time for a break. Hot Takes with the Murphman will return after these messages.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
The web at mbradio.u.
All right, and we are back from break. So that was Fly by Fire, Be Myself. That's one of those songs that you liked, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll keep that one in. We have 2 new songs today in the later half of the show. So we're going to get to play those.
Yeah.
You know. But like I said, let's talk about those pitfalls to avoid, those things that will burn you, in our segment called Where You'll Get Burned.
Stop leaving thousands of dollars on the table because this common pitfall is actively hurting your future. Watch out for these critical execution blunders during contract discussions. Accepting an initial entry-level employment offer immediately on the phone due to fear or artificial timeline pressure. Basing your target compensation requirements on personal monthly living expenses instead of objective market data. Using an aggressive, demanding, or combative tone that damages professional relationships before your onboarding process even begins.
So accepting an initial entry-level employment offer immediately on the phone due to fear or artificial timeline pressure. You know, that those 48 hours, you know, for more serious job offers, I think that's very important. But if you've done your market research and you know what the benefits are and you already know, you know, I don't see a problem with accepting it because you already know where you stand. But if you haven't done the research or they come in lower than you expect, you have to go and say, let me research this and let me think about this and see if this is what I want to get paid. Because you have to ask yourself, do I really want to work for them for that money? Right?
Yeah.
So as you're thinking about that, those 48 hours are to really think if you want that job or not. But if you already know you want the job, you already know what your salary is going to be, you already know what the benefits are, there's no problem accepting it there because you already know it, but you're getting what you want or close to what you want. And if it's lower, you're going to say, you know, whatever. And that's another thing. When you go to a job interview, they're going to ask you, how much do you want to get paid for this? And that's where it's like, there's phrases, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you, well, you know, based on the market conditions, the salaries between this and this, what is your budget? Now it's on them to tell you, well, our budget is this. All right. Well, then I think I'm in this range. And they might say, yay or nay. You know what I mean? And that's when how it all starts.
Yeah.
Basing your target compensation requirements on personal monthly living expenses. Be like, yo, bro, that's not enough. I need more money to live. You know, that doesn't work either. All right. If you're not, you can't go to the movies or the food court at the mall. Be like, I need to make $100,000 a year so I can live comfortably. It doesn't work that way, right?
I wish.
Me too. And last but not least, using an aggressive, demanding, or combative tone that damages the professional relationships before the onboarding process even begins. What does that mean? Well, if you get very upset with the offer, be like, what? Hell no. I want to make so much more money. That's going to turn them away. You know, you got to come in, you got to be professional in a job interview. You got to be professional when they offer you that job. And I remember when I took the job that I'm at right now, my coworker was an old coworker of mine, but he tells the boss, I know Sean's looking for a job. I know he can do this job. I know he'd be good to work with. Can you accept him? She says, well, let me see. So on Wednesday, I interviewed for the job. Right? No, I lie. On Wednesday, I applied for the job. Officially, I went online and I applied. Mm-hmm. On Thursday at lunch, we met online and we talked. And on Friday, she offered me the job. I already knew what the job was. I already knew the starting salary was not negotiable. It was a teaching job. That's what comes with it. Because I have a master's degree, they paid me a little more, maybe, right? But it was literally that fast of a process, 48 hours. From the time I applied to the time I got the job, you know. And what's it called? The job's been great. I love it. You know, I've been there 3.5 years now, and I see myself there until I retire.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I hope in a couple of years I'll be a counselor. You know, I'll move up the chain.
At that same job?
Yeah. Same location.
Oh, location's at home.
Well, yeah, but it's a Texas College Preparatory Academy, and that's where I'm at. So that's what I mean by location. The virtual academy I'm at, and it's one of those things that when you're looking at these pitfalls, if you already know what you want, you know what the job offers, you do your research, it's okay to accept it, right? But when I got the job offer, it was Christmas vacations. So if they needed me to start on the 6th of January or the 9th of January, and they were going to go on vacation. So I had to accept the job that day, turn in my 2-week notice, which was not 2 weeks. It was only like a 3-day notice when we come back from vacation, you know. It's just one of those things that the way it all worked out, you know, it was good. Another job that I have a part-time job, right? They said, all I can offer you is this much money. Would you like to come work for me? I'm like, sure. You know, that's worth my time, right? I work at the college. This is what your salary is. Okay, that's what they pay the teachers. And you know, there's some things you have to accept. That's the way it is. You know. What's funny is when I first started, I got an email from HR saying, "Hey, we have benefits for health insurance and everything. Come to the meeting." And I was like, "Hey, do I have benefits as a part-timer?" They're like, "No, but we send it to all employees." I'm like, "You should exclude us on that stuff, you know."
Yeah.
But I was like, "Wow, I have actually, you know."
Getting help stuff for nothing.
Yeah. And so realize that as you're talking to your employer, your business, your whatever the case may be, know your worth, know what they're offering. If they offered low, say, I need time to think about this. And you got to come back with a counter offer or accept.
Yeah.
You know, if you know what you're worth and they offer you very low, say, I can't even consider that. I need to be closer to this number. And then you can be at that. Sorry. You have to know the numbers. So if it's too low, say, nope, I need to be closer to this. If they say, can't do it, you say, you can't do it,
or you won't do it,
or you're not going to negotiate. Because there's a big difference there.
Yeah.
You know, say, no, we're not going to negotiate. That's the price. Okay, no, I already know that's too low for what I want, so I can't take that. You know, but what if you really like the company, or your friends work there, or you really, really want to do that job? Are you going to take the job even if it's lower? Maybe. You know, I'm not telling you have to take and get the most money ever.
Yeah.
But I am telling you, know what you're worth and know what you want. You know. So, excuse me. Allergies, man.
Humidity, yeah.
All
the rain we have in here.
Yeah, all that pollen in the air and everything. You know. as we talk about this, I think it's time we get to the afterburn where we reflect on what we've learned today and ask yourself these questions. So let's talk about that real quick.
The fire is burning hot, but real growth happens when you process the embers. Evaluate your current positioning by answering these critical internal performance questions. Have you thoroughly researched the regional cost of living adjustments for your target employment zone?
I got ahead of ourselves. So sorry about that. The heat shields, right? So I'm aware of that. So let's talk about these heat shields real quick. I'll tell you what, let's go to break and we're going to come back and we'll talk about this. Okay? Yeah, technical difficulties. We'll be right back.
It's time for a break. Hot Takes with the Murphman will return after these messages.
Down Lincoln again, droplets form against the windows, early morning light and shadows bend to colors, reaching for the lenses in my eyes which take them, turn them upside down, and though I do not know quite how, they will be turned right back around and spit back out. Conduits and cabling which disassemble them, processing from noise and light, still springs in static motion and information. Suddenly see that the reason is everywhere around us. It is everywhere around us. Bus stop standing on the corner, passengers are waiting, and they sit in silence, half asleep, and they wonder what they each are thinking. Woman with off-white woolen cap, the young man staring at the sidewalk where the tip of her umbrella touches to the ground. And the distance between strangers can sometimes be quite alarming, but today the bus comes to carry us together into the morning. Suddenly see that the reason is everywhere around us, is everywhere around us. And suddenly see that the reason is everywhere around us, is everywhere around us. Down Lincoln again, droplets form against the windows, early morning light and shadows bend to colors, reaching for the lenses in my eyes which take them, turn them upside down, and though I do not know quite how, they will be turned right back around, spit back out, conduit and cabling, which disassemble them, processing the noise and light, still frames in static motion and information. Suddenly see that the reason
The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
The web at mbradio.u.
This data-driven benchmark strategy is your complete protection from being burned by a lowball offer. Utilize these key strategic anchors to protect your occupational value. Leverage recognized national databases like Glassdoor, Salary.com, and the Bureau of Labor Statistics to source unassailable geographic salary averages. Frame every single salary adjustment request around quantifiable past deliverables and verifiable university project outcomes. Prepare a firm, predetermined walk-away number to prevent yourself from accepting an exploitative contract out of desperation.
All right. So leverage recognized national databases like Glassdoor, Salary.com, and the Bureau of Labor Statistics to source unassailable geographic salary averages. So, Connor, do you know what the word unassailable means?
Yes, it means something or someone that is impossible to attack, doubt, or defeat. Yeah.
Very good.
It almost sounds like I Googled it.
Right? You would think so.
I would think so.
But you're educated, you're in college now, so you know these words.
Totally.
You know, one of the funniest things I think a parent can do is give their young kid a word-a-day calendar. So you have these little kids learning how to say words that they know the meaning to, but they try to use it. Like, I can picture you going, you know, it's an unassailable blah, 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 blah. You know, like, you know.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't want it to be able to dispute it, basically. Frame every single salary adjustment request around quantifiable past deliverables and verifiable university project outcomes. Universal. When I was at a program that had a grant, I didn't know how grants worked. That's your salary. There's no negotiation. There's no room for salary increases until the next year that they get the money. They didn't know if they got more money or not. So I asked, you know, I'm meeting my numbers, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's just, it doesn't work that way. I said, okay. And that's how I learned, you know, it wasn't a negotiation, but it was a question I asked during the interview. So how does it work for raises and stuff? I said, well, you get paid for the year, and based on our grant next year, we're able to give you a raise or not. Okay. But one thing I love is football players holding out on OTAs, right? No, I want to make more money. I had a good year. Okay. So you're going to hold us hostage and you're going to try to get more money out of us. All right. Well, when you drop down and have a bad year, we're going to take away the money, okay? No. You got to pay me that no matter what. That's where I have a problem with football players, because, or any sports player, they have a good year and they ask for money and they hold out and they hold the team hostage until they get what they want.
Yeah.
And I have a problem with that.
But for the players that do hold the team hostage, they are the ones that mostly get the most yards.
Yeah, because they have the power. But
when they have the power, they just are good on the field.
Well, that's the power they have because they have such a big influence. But, and again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a contract negotiator, but I would say, you know, because of injury, you can't lose your position, right? But if you can't perform at the level you're asking a raise to, we're going to lower your salary the following year. So it's not about an injury or something. I'm talking about like if they actually have a bad year. You know, let's say you have a running back who is an amazing running back. They got a quarterback who's an amazing passer. So they start passing the ball more, and now the running back doesn't have a good year. Should we still pay the running back the amount we're paying him because we were so dependent on him before? You see where it's a hard thing.
It's because it depends how the team plays. If it's mostly because some could pass to the running back, so
Right.
It's more of a passing than receiving, or it's more receiving than rushing.
Right. But last year we were a running team. So you wanted more. We paid you more. This year we're a running team. I mean, a passing team. Do we lower your salary?
Well, that's why I'm like, it depends on the team because you can still use the running back as.
Yeah, but you're not getting utilized as much as you were.
I mean, you still could.
Because there's teams that run.
They know how good you are. So
there's teams that run 30, 40 times a game. And there's some that run 18, 20. So certain positions have different things. Or you're a wide receiver. You're a wide receiver 1, 2, 3. When you're wide receiver 1 and they bring in a star and you get moved to 2, you're not going to get the same targets as you would as a 1, right?
Yeah.
That's not fair to you to lower your salary. That's not your fault. But if we're throwing at you and you're not catching them, then we got to renegotiate this.
Well, I mean, you can still catch them, but you can still get dropped down depending on how good the star is.
Well, and that's the thing. Their contracts don't let you drop down. So that's where I have a problem with people asking for a raise based on performance. But when you don't meet those numbers, lowering your salary is not part of the discussion. I think it should be, personally.
I mean, it's either that or cut off the team.
Well, yeah, that's why they trade people.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, I'm not going to deal with this BS. Opening my business, I have a pitch that I have for companies that I know is cheaper than my competitors by almost $200. Now, could I raise my prices higher? Yeah, but I'm not greedy. I already know what I would have made if I was working for that company. So that's what I'm going to charge you. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm not losing anything whether I work for you or my own business. You're saving money coming to me instead of them. So, and that actually, if I do that, I can upscale it to more employees all around the country. So, it could grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. So that's what's really cool about all of it. All right. Also, you want to frame every single adjustment request with quantified. Oh, I already said that one. Sorry. The quantifiable and verifiable university. It is. Yeah.
Universal.
Yeah. It does say university.
It does? Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. Universal project outcomes. Okay. And prepare a firm, predetermined walkaway number to prevent yourself from accepting an exploitative contract out of desperation. Like I said, you want to have that number where you say, I will not accept this. That's way too low. I don't want it. Let me get something different. You got to be able to walk away. A lot of people don't realize that you can walk away from job offers. Also, I was offered a job one time. I put in my resignation, and then they said, oh, wait, don't quit yet. We lost the money for that position. Like, I already put a resignation in. That's actually a lawsuit. You can sue for that now.
Really?
Yeah. Because
you can sue almost anything now.
Well, I can sue you for not doing a good job here. I mean, we can sue for everything. Okay.
Well, no, since I'm not technically your employee.
No, you're not. But I'm saying I can sue you. It doesn't mean I'm going to win.
Well, I mean,
you can sue for anything.
Yeah, you can sue. Yeah.
That's why we always frivolous lawsuits.
I think it's just stupid. There's some stuff where it's like, if it's not even winnable, or it's not even like fair, because I mean, this is like one of the low cases, shouldn't even be
allowed to sue.
Yeah.
Do you know where all these lawsuits started?
No.
There was a lady who went through a drive-through at McDonald's and bought a cup of coffee and ended up pouring it on herself and getting burned, and she sued McDonald's. And everyone says, you dropped the cup of coffee on it, it's your fault, right? Well, if you actually research that particular situation, the coffee was so hot, it gave her third-degree burns. If you drop a hot cup of coffee in your arm, you might get a first-degree burn, at the most. Just get red. her skin was blistering.
Well, isn't that what
It was
the heat does?
No, it's because it was too hot. They were serving coffee that was extremely hot. So like if I'm drinking it, I could have burned my tongue and gotten blisters on my tongue. That's how hot it was. So forget that was negligent on McDonald's part, and that's what they proved.
How hot would it need to be for, like, what else is something that's that hot to get blisters? Just so I could get an example.
Boiling water.
Really? Yeah. 'Cause I feel like it blistered my skin before on hot water itself.
No, you've never blistered anything. You burn yourself, but you never blistered. Trust me, your skin falls off if you blister. Okay. Yeah, 30 degree burns. And again, I'm not going to get sidetracked, but burn treatment and burn facilities, the treatment that they have to do is horrible. Anyone who's ever gone through that, I'm sorry you had to do that. It's burn treatment is not a good thing. It's not nice or anything at all. And also, I got sidetracked by the burning. When someone offers you a contract, even an oral contract is important because it's enforceable. If I say, hey, I will do this for you, I'm offering you this job for this money and you accept it, we now have a contract. Maybe nothing in writing, but we have a contract. And if I were to say, if I was a lawyer and I call you to court and say, okay, I'm suing you because you offered him a job. Well, we have no proof. It was oral contract. Okay, did you call him later and say, wait, don't resign? Well, yeah, I did. Well, why would you do that if you wouldn't offer him a job? You know what I mean? So there's an oral contract is just as good as a written contract, and so be aware of that. Also, when we think about this, when you go take a job offer, you put your resignation in, right? You can't get out of that. You can't tell your boss, oh, I changed my mind, I want to stay. It doesn't work that way. I had a job where I hated my boss and I quit after my first week of work. I've told that story before. And I put in resignation. And she says, there's no purpose of you sticking around, just go home. Okay, I left, right? And when I got home, I told my wife, I'm like, hey, I quit, blah, blah, blah. And she sent me home. She said, well, what about your paycheck? I said, I'm going to get paid. Well, how do you know? I said, because it's in their employee manual. Because as a supervisor, I read the employee manual. And I was like, I already know I was going to get paid. So, yeah, I'll go home. I'm going to get paid anyway.
For the whole day or like just for where you worked?
I was supposed to get paid for 3 weeks. I was happy with 2, because I already had another job.
I mean, you still could have sued for that week. Or at least
No. Well, not sued. I could have gone to them and said, hey, your policy says 3 weeks. I want my 3 weeks. And they would have had to give it to me. Then if they didn't, then I could sue for that. But I had gotten the job over the weekend and I was like, yeah, I'm done. I don't want to deal with this woman. So I already had accepted the other position. An employee has a lot more power than they think. You're an asset to that company. You know what you're worth. Let the company know what you're worth. And there's an old adage: people will kill themselves for a company. Like I was killing myself for the runaway shelter. And then one day or the next, you're out. Oh, okay. You could die and they'll replace you. So don't feel obligated to that company. This thing about, we're a family. Don't fall for that either. Okay. You're not family. I'm working for you. We're close and we make some good friendships, but I am not family. I am not going to just accept this behavior because you treated me good or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things to look at that way. So, but now we can talk about those reflective questions. Let's talk about those things those questions we want to ask ourselves. So we know if we're doing something right or not.
The fire is burning hot, but real growth happens when you process the embers. Evaluate your current positioning by answering these critical internal performance questions. Have you thoroughly researched the regional cost of living adjustments for your target employment zone? Is your current value statement built on subjective opinions or concrete, verifiable personal data points? What specific non-monetary benefits are you fully prepared to negotiate if the employer has a strict base salary freeze?
So there you have it. Have you thoroughly researched the regional cost of living adjustments for your target employment zone? So like we talked about this, when you get out of college, you're going to get a job. You have no idea where you're going to go. You have to look at the cost of living in that job. Okay. There are websites you can go to. You can search cost of living comparisons. And then you type in, I'm in El Paso. This is what I make right now. I want to move to Dallas. What is a comparable salary to have the quality of life I have right now? And it'll say more or less, because sometimes places are less expensive, right? So that's a starting salary number you want to have. If you're doing the same job, that's your starting salary, even though it's more than what you're making right now. And you want more than that because you're changing jobs. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So when you do your numbers, keep that in mind. Also, is your current value statement built on subjective opinions or concrete, verifiable personal data points? When you're saying I want more money, you have to know why. You can't just say, well, I just want more.
Yeah.
You can say, well,
I mean, you could say that,
but just because you want it, you know, one in one hand and I can't say it. There's want in one hand and poop in the other. See which comes first.
Oh.
Just
okay.
There's a phrase.
Never heard of that phrase.
Yeah. So, but yeah, you can ask for it, but have the data behind it so they know, you know, you're coming at them with a reasonable offer. And the last is, what specific non-monetary benefits are you fully prepared to negotiate if the employer has a salary that is strictly what they're offering, that they cannot change it at all? Okay, you can't offer me more money. What can you offer me? Work from home for a day? You know, maybe equipment? Maybe, I don't know, right? So again, it doesn't always have to be about your income. It can be about the benefits as well. All that's negotiable. You know, and have you ever heard of a golden parachute?
No.
Okay, you know what a parachute is, right? You jump out of a plane and it saves you.
Yes.
A lot of these high corporate offices and these jobs have golden parachutes. So even if you're fired for doing a bad job, your contract says you have to get paid so much.
For what though?
No, if you get fired, they have to pay you 6 months salary. They have to give you your vacation time. They have to give you this.
What?
Yeah. And that's what these CEOs that make millions of dollars do. Like, I'm sure you've heard of all the stuff going on here in El Paso with the school districts.
No.
That they were short $52 million for the budget next year.
What, UBASD?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have to fire a lot of people.
They've been short on the budget.
Well, the thing is, when they fired Saavedra, which is the superintendent, they had to give her the golden parachute, and she got a good amount of money, you know. And I was shocked that she was let go, because I was just like, this is not what I expected.
Why did they let her go?
I think it was more of a personality conflict, but looking back now, they're realizing she didn't do what she was supposed to be doing. She didn't do her assessments, and she let people go. So maybe that was the reason they didn't want to make it public. Okay. But they're in a shortage right now. They're having to fire people which is very unfortunate.
But if they're on a shortage, they're firing more people. Wouldn't they be on shortage of employees then?
Yes. Yes. That's what they're saying. That's why they talk about consolidating schools and they do all this stuff.
Would they merge YISD and EPISD together?
No.
No, right?
That's an option, but no.
You think they would though?
No.
It has to come down to that?
No. Because it's two taxing entities. So Coro District taxes a lot more than El Paso District. So if we were to merge with them, for example.
Well, not Socorro.
Well, no, I'm saying.
Like East Laredo.
But I'm saying they already have a higher tax rate. That means all the people in El Paso would have a higher tax rate. So they can't do that. Okay.
You can just like me in the middle?
No.
Because they have to fund.
Because they would lower the money they're already getting from that place.
But it would also be more schools to fund.
Well, yeah,
So
it's more.
it
Could be more expensive. You know, that's the thing. They have to stay different and separate.
So what? If this EPISD thing doesn't work out, would they just shut it down? And then if they do, what would happen to all the other schools that are under EPISD?
They actually would get taken over by the state, and that's happened once before. The state would come in and run the district, and they'd get rid of a lot of people.
Well, yeah.
Okay. But the point I was making is the majority of what they're doing is they're letting people go. And they're saying their position's been cut. Contract's over, we're done. You know, they're offering them some kind of compensation. May not be much, but they're offering some kind. And it's all part of that package, that golden parachute. But a superintendent gets fired. They get like 6 months salary. They get a compensation plan that's very different than what an employee would get. And I don't think that's fair, but that's how life is, right?
Yeah.
You know, so think about that. And when you're negotiate from a point of proven information, negotiate and say, hey, this is what I want because this is what I'm worth. This is what the field pays. This is where your salary budgets are. You know, research all that and be ready for that. But now I think we need to get into our digital inferno. That we talk about technology helping you do this. So how would we do that? How would we research this? Let's talk about the digital inferno.
Stop negotiating without data, because these automation tools completely eliminate your fear of asking for more. Deploy these specific digital tools to automate your preparation phase. Utilize automated career tracking platforms like Glassdoor to set up regional alerts for real-time entry-level compensation shifts. Use collaborative workspace engines like Notion or Evernote to build, refine, and practice your interactive negotiation dialogue scripts. Deploy financial management tools like YNAB to model how different total compensation options impact your real-world net income projections.
Yeah, so think about all that right now, okay? When you realize what's happening here, all right? When you're negotiating, you want to realize, hold on, give me a sec. My notes here. All right, that's not going to help me.
You want me to move the camera down to the corner at least or something?
Yeah, do that. All right, so use specialized resume optimization software. That program that you have will help you set your resume up so you can ask for what you want to do. Deploy advanced communication platforms like Grammarly and Detective Any to ensure that your written documents sound entirely confident. Use Gemini, use AI, verify what you're doing, okay? And last but not least, leverage comprehensive educational portals. All right, so as you're doing this, and you're researching it, right? You go in and your resume gets compared to other resumes, and it says, here's what you need to add, change, or whatever the case may be. Then when you're applying, you make sure you write the proper essay. I myself, right now that I'm doing my business plans for my LLC, Gemini's helping me write it, and I edit it, and I go in and I ask Copilot and Gemini, whatever, when I'm asking them both, tell me what you think of this. And it says, I think it's amazing, or no, here's what you need to change. And it going back and forth, I'm fixing and making it look more professional. Use technology. Also, you have to be able to say what you're writing. Like, for example, I don't talk B2B, business to business, or MRR, monthly recurring revenue, ROI, return on investment. Those are not words I use, right? Mm-hmm. But for this, I do have to use it. That is something I do have to do, using those words. So I have to read my, it's one thing to have Gemini write your paper or your resume or whatever, your letter to them. It's another when you have to actually do it. So make sure you do that. And I'll tell you what, let's take another quick break. And when we come back, we're going to do Digital Inferno Part 2. And we'll talk about that. We'll be right back, you guys.
It's time for a break. Hot Takes with the Murphman will return after these messages.
Stools, cigarette smoke, where the dive bar band's playing all the wrong notes. Them dollar bills still hanging on the wall. This ain't no place for her kind at all. She had them red bottoms on in this blue collar town. There's only two reasons why girls like her come around. She either took a wrong turn back in Austin, or she's looking for love cause she lost it. We were two flames burning, red wine and bourbon, leaning on each other for a little southern comfort, just trying to set the mood right under the neon moonlight. She was chasing that freedom, love a man, leave him, trying to make her mine by the end of the night. I'm a good line away from her number, trying to keep her from being this summer. Sunsets and sunrise nights have never been my thing. Hell, they might just be what I need after all. Hell, you can't find love till you fall. She ain't used to red dirt roads, but for what it's worth, feel like home in the middle of this old bench seat. Every song brings me closer to me. We were two flames burning, red wine and bourbon, leaning on each other for a little southern comfort, just trying to set the mood right under the neon moonlight. She was chasing that freedom, love a man, leave him, trying to make her mine by the end of the night. I'm a good line away from her number, trying to keep her from being single this summer. We were two flames burning, red wine and bourbon, leaning on each other for a little southern comfort, just trying to set the moon right under the neon moonlights. She was chasing that freedom, love a man, leave him, trying to make her mine by the end of the night. I'm
the station where our veterans' voices are heard, MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
The web at mbradio.u.
All right, we are back. Now we're going to do Digital Inferno Part 2. Here we go.
Tech-driven execution is what separates amateur job seekers from elite professional candidates. Use these advanced digital applications to finalize your workplace transition. Use specialized resume optimization software like Jobscan to match your data-driven value statements directly with target corporate job descriptions. Deploy advanced communication platforms like Grammarly Tone Detector to ensure your written counterproposals sound entirely confident, collaborative, and professional. Leverage comprehensive educational portals like LinkedIn Learning to complete high-value technical micro-credentials that directly justify your higher target salary tier.
Oh, I got kicked out of TikTok.
For what?
Because I have to say I'm here.
Oh, you didn't?
I didn't, yeah.
Oh.
I was on break and I forgot to activate it. Oh, well. So they know to go to YouTube if anything. All right, so the special resume optimization we already talked about. But here, you want to match your data-driven to the target corporate job descriptions. You need to use the words that are in their descriptions to be us. To be us, to be similar in your resume. I want to say, if it says able to jump tall buildings in a single bound, my resume is going to say I can jump tall buildings in a single bound. Right? Yeah, Superman, right? I'm Batman.
In a single what?
A single bound. Like he leaps. Oh. Deploy advanced communication platforms like Grammarly, Tone Detector, and ensure your proposals are confident, collaborative, and professional. Yeah, okay. Wait, when you're writing something so professional, you got to worry about what people are saying. Okay. Is my mic good? You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mine is a little, that one.
Okay. And then leverage comprehensive educational portals like LinkedIn. Complete high-value technical micro-credentials that directly justify your higher target salary. When you're doing things and applying for a job and you have all these different trainings, you can say, hey, I know it doesn't really matter to this job, but I'm certified in first aid and CPR. If you work with older people, maybe that's a good thing, right? But at your age, to say you're certified in CPR and everything, that's a skill that you've learned that makes you marketable, that's transferable. Why? Because it shows you've done more than the average kid. Now, I know nowadays it's all part of the health program.
Yeah.
Okay, but not every school does it.
Not every school.
Not every school.
Like what? Name one.
Oh,
they all do it.
In Texas, but maybe not the statewide, countrywide, So, yeah.
Texas is one of the better states.
Maybe. But
go Cowboys.
Go Texans.
Ugh. Go none of the teams.
Yeah. Go Niners. Screw the Chiefs. ABC. I'm an ABC fan. Anything but the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So utilize the technologies available to you. I know when you went for your first job, I told you to take a resume and you're like, why? Because you have skills that you've already done.
Well, it's because I already sent it online.
I know. But what I'm saying is you had a resume to send online.
Well, yeah, but...
And I told you to take a paper copy so that they could have it, right?
Did they keep it? No.
No, but the point is, you send it.
Bother looking at it.
Okay, because he already had seen it. But what if someone else had seen your resume and told him to do the interview? You never know. So you always have a couple copies of your resume in case people want to see it. Okay. And you tailor every resume to every job you're applying for because you want to match the job description.
Yeah.
So don't just do one and print 1,000 copies of it. Okay. Now, if you have a functional resume that's just skills that are all computer based and list your certifications, that's all that matters in that field, right?
That's all you do.
Yeah. You know, so it depends on your field and what you're going to be doing. I was listening to another TikTok interview, and they're talking with the CEO of a company. He talks about, if I have a 500,000 salaried engineer working for me, I expect them to use about 250,000 credits in AI because I want them to be able to work smarter, not harder. And that's an attitude that a lot of companies need to have, because it's funny. People get fired for using AI at work, but then they're using AI for that, to fire them. Now, you know how you can tell if they're using AI? For one, it's the language. There's certain phrases, but there's
words that not a normal
right.
person would say.
Unassailable. You're an ass.
You said it. Wasn't just me. It was you also.
I know, but yeah. But when you said such words, I knew what you were going to say. There's an M dash. It's the EM dash. And the dash is a longer dash than a regular dash.
How long?
It's like no. If you see an M dash, it's longer than a regular dash. You can tell the difference between the word, and that's written by AI. When text is bolded, it's from AI. Not the whole thing, just certain words and phrases, because it thinks that's more important, so it bolds it for you. So if there's ways as teachers, we know when you're using AI. You know, can you do things where you don't have to? I don't know. Where you can't tell if it's AI or not. Yeah, you know, you can do that stuff. You can write it, humanize it for me. There's a bunch of different things you can do. Okay. But the bottom line is, whatever AI writes for you, you need to make sure you know what you're going to say when they ask you about it. That's why with my executive plans that I'm writing, I'm reading them and I'm like, okay, when I go to the business, I'm going to be like, look, this was written by AI because it makes it sound more professional and better understanding. But I'm going to describe it a little more simpler than this. Less complex. Okay. I could say that, right? Yeah. And say, because I have no idea how to write a business plan. So I had AI help me. You know, they give you a template, but I added more and more and more and more. And one of the things I added was my master asset list, where it has all the things I currently have and all the things I need. So someone can go in there and say, oh, I see what you've done, you know, and I can see the progression you've gone, and I can see why you need this equipment now. So they can show, I'm not just saying, hey, I need money for this, you know. I can say, I've already bought this, I've upgraded everything. Next thing I want is this thing for this. And AI is helping me write that in a nicer way, right? Yeah. But be aware of all that as you're talking to your potential employers. Don't use AI if you don't know what you're writing, because they could throw stuff in there and make it up because like AI hallucinates. And so tell me when you won the Medal of Honor. No, I never won the Medal of Honor. Well, that's what it says here. You know, yeah, you gotta be real careful what AI says, because you know, make me sound good, and it sells stuff like that. It's like, okay, that's not a realistic good. You know, always review what AI writes, because like they say, it's not guaranteed. Every AI chat at the very bottom says, we can make mistakes, please verify. You know.
I've never seen that.
Oh, you don't like to use AI, so.
Yeah. But like when I do, I rarely use it.
Well, I use it a lot. And last week we talked about my projects that we're working on. I started working on the next project. speaker story.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the characters are coming out pretty good.
You think so?
Yeah, I do.
Are you making the story already, or are you just doing the...
No, I have the story already.
No, but like, are you making the scenes already?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Because I've learned you got to do certain things. And what's funny is the person that gave me the script, it's a story that he has to tell, right?
Yeah.
And I researched it for him, and I added a lot of detail to it. And I asked him to read it and make sure it's okay. So he puts it into ChatGPT and says, you know my life story. How accurate is this? And it came back and said, very accurate, like impressively accurate, you know?
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, so what'd you write? And I told him what I added and everything. And he's like, wow, that's cool. So we started talking, and he goes, I want to add a scene of me kicking the winning field goal. Done. So he sent that to me, you know? So we're working on all the character development right now, all the images. And once we do that, once we get the videos going, we're going to have other MBR people voice characters and give them credits at the end of the movie. You know, so yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. You know, not clone voices, real voices. You know, but all right, I'll tell you what, Connor, we got about 10 minutes left of the show. Let's get to today's final burn.
Know your worth, show your work. The final take from today's discussion is your first offer isn't your final word. Know your worth, show your work, and don't flinch. The final burn is complete. Murphman, end the show.
Know your worth, show your work. Know your worth, show your work. That is excellent, because knowing your worth, I've been saying that all show, right? Know what you're worth, but you also have to be able to show why you're worth that, right? Those transferable skills, that resume, your speech that you give. I'm not great in interviews. I've told you before, I'm very cocky. And
you're a little cocky sometimes.
Oh,
the way you told me.
Yeah, a lot cocky.
It takes them like, yeah, I do that.
Well, yeah,
I can do a little bit more also.
Like when I applied for the teaching position, the guy's like, so what subject do you want to teach? And I said, whatever you need me to teach. And he's like, well, don't you have a specialty? And I'm like, everything. And he's like, yeah, whatever. I said, grab the book, open to a page, and ask me a question. He did, and I knew everything.
It's like Suits all over again.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The first scene with Mike. But I really used to study psychology back in the day. And I really knew stuff.
In the military, yeah.
To the point where I actually would train the doctors that would come through for the rotations. I was the one that had the program set up for them. I even got an award for it.
Oh, wow.
And what's really cool about all that is the doctor that I was working with, I actually reached out to him a couple months ago, and we reconnected and stuff. You know, he's doing really good, and you know, he's doing his thing. Yeah. But know your worth, show your work. If someone were to ask me, what can you bring to the company? One of the things I'm going to say that's not on my resume is everywhere that I've gone, teamwork has improved. Morale has improved. Cooperation has improved. I can tell you that because the feedback I get wherever I go is, we miss you. We're not as close as we used to be. We're not communicating like we used to. You kept us together, you know. So that's not something I can put on a resume. But when I say that to you as an employer, you're gonna be like, wow, that's a pretty interesting skill, right? So know what your worth is, know how to show your work and explain it, and hopefully you can get a really good paying job. And hopefully I can get paid what I think I'm worth in my new position.
Hopefully.
You know, but I'll tell you what, Connor, I think that brings us to the end for today's show. What do you think?
Yeah.
You know, second week back, still working in the studio, still doing stuff because life's happening.
Yeah, things are happening.
You know, appointments, everything that we're doing. So, but
hey, we're getting them mostly like done.
Yeah. So I just keep taking on side quests, you know. What can I say?
I knew you guys say something. I knew you were gonna say something like Gen Z or something.
Well, it's a perfect example of what I do.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I just don't hear from you at all.
You know, I don't know. Like I'm struggling right now. I like got 6, maybe 7 things going on.
Yeah, that one already grown on me, actually.
You guys, thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it. Hope we see you next week here at Pure Hot Takes. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on this episode. If you're looking for more, you can find all the best clips from the show on our social media pages. For all the links and more information about what we talked about today, visit purehottakes.com. And if you want to watch the full replay or get access to our premium content, subscribe now at stream915.com. We appreciate you tuning in.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.